Cabalin'! That's right, we got the new Cabal merch up. I got a few different illustrations if you want to check it out. And I hope to see you guys rocking it around the Collecticons this year. But today's video topic is going to be about the whole grading craze kind of winding down. We are starting to see less and less margins between the raw near mint cards and the PSA 10 copies. We're starting to see no margins basically on most PSA 9s. And you're starting to hear some negativity surrounding that. And I know a lot of people are asking themselves, well, does that mean my graded cards or my singles aren't going to have value in the future? Are people stopping valuing this stuff? And we're going to get into all that in just a second. And the quick answer is no, I don't believe so. I'm going to explain to you what is happening, why it's happening, how to position ourselves with our collection and investments now moving into the future. And also, you know, what maybe to be picking up and what to be thinking about when you are picking up things moving forward as well. Before I do that, though, I want to do a few quick housekeeping issues. First up is that the normal box break we have on the channel, Thursday, 7 p.m., is going to be moved to Friday at 7 p.m. this week because I will be live on Whatnot this Thursday at 7 p.m. Same thing as always. There'll be $1 start auctions on singles, on slabs, on packs. We got packs to buy. There will be giveaways. We'll have a great time as always. And the other thing is the Patreon is now live. For anyone who wants more of that personalized attention, more of that one-on-one advice, more of that longer form content that kind of brings all the information into one place with, you know, downloadable spreadsheets, and instead of trying to go all over the internet finding all the information on certain topics, it really condenses it down to digestible forms. As always, guys, there's no secretive stuff out there. I'm not telling you to join the Patreon for the secret sauce. It's really just more to support the channel. It gives you more of that personalized attention and longer form content with more, you know, people who are more serious about their collecting, investing in business. And then, oh yeah, also I threw a 10% discount on all the pack breaks in there too. So, you know, another way to get some value if you do buy more than $100 in packs a month, like $25 a week. Well, you're actually going to save money by being in the Patreon, so that helps too. So, that is pretty much where we are at with all of that good stuff. Getting into today's video. So, with PSA grading or other grading companies, doesn't have to be PSA, what is happening is you're seeing the margins disappear between the raw mint copies and the PSA 10s. Now, the first to market place, right, where the set comes out and you immediately rush grade a lot of those hits, they come back. Those plays are still there, but they are disappearing faster than they used to. But you can still make huge margins, make those buku bucks, those free tendies, if you make those plays and you do hit the 10s. After that, though, after the sets become established, a lot of the packs get opened, maybe reprints come and they age, we are seeing a lot of those margins disappear. And it's kind of freaking a lot of people out there thinking, well, Alex, does this mean all the graded cards aren't going to have value in the future? Does this mean the singles are going to stop having as much value? Does this mean I should stop, you know, investing in those? Here's the thing. It's really mostly just affecting the stores, the flippers, and the people who have businesses or side businesses doing this because the free tendies are gone. What happened was before, there was a huge demand for graded cards and there was very low supply because there was very few people doing it, right? Well, now what happened is it's not that demand has crashed, right? That's not what's happening. The demand is, I would still say, relatively similar, if not more even these days. If you look at the sales data, what happened is the supply caught up. You have so many more people doing this. So many people have learned to do it. They've joined Patreons like mine and learned it, whatever it may be. And you have people running side businesses or full-time businesses now grading cards. Meaning, the supply is now massive to catch up with the massive demand. And because of that, it's reached an equilibrium where there just isn't as much margins. It's reached a point where PSA 9s, they might sell for a little over what raw goes for sometimes, but because of the grading fees, there's really no margin to be made. And PSA 10s have, by and large, kind of lost a lot of those crazy exponential margins you used to see, making it less and less worth it to grade cards. And so what I mean is, you know, you can look at the Moonbryon, right? The Moonbryon goes raw for like $650 now. Well, the PSA 10 is only $900 to $1,000 these days. And so what you have to think to yourself is, well, if I grade one of those and it gets a 9, I've not only lost the grading fee, which maybe you got it through bulk, maybe they caught it and they upcharged you, you know, I don't know what you paid, maybe $15 to $40, somewhere in there. And then it gets a 9, you have to sell it. So no matter how you sell it, maybe you sell it on one of the online platforms, you have to eat the fees, eat the shipping. Then you have to go try again. Well, by the time you try again, even if you get that 10 and you sell the 10 and eat those, you know, grading fees and shipping fees and selling fees, you're really not making any margin. So it's almost made people have to be perfect to actually realize those gains. I mean, at least like 75, 80% plus gem rate, 10 rate, when you're sending in your PSA orders. And so it's caused some people to just not grade as much, be a lot more selective with what they grade. And some people are, taking higher risks. They're going to the cards that have the higher margins where you're going to make 100, 200% when it gets a 10. However, the reason it has those margins is those are a lot harder to get 10s. And so you're going to get less 10s. So it sort of equals each other out. Now, there is still money to be made. Obviously, businesses are still doing well, but you're just having to up your volume if you want to go that route, right? If you used to make, a lot more percentage on less product, well, now the percentage is lower, but you're still making money. Well, you just have to increase your volume, right? You might have to increase your volume double, triple, quadruple to continue to make the gains that you're wanting to make on the graded cards. Now, for collectors and investors, right? It actually is starting to make sense to just buy the PSA 10. I know, I said it, right? It's crazy, right? Because you've always been taught, Alex, no, you buy the raw single at a discount, you grade it yourself, and you have the 10, and you already have a built-in margin. That's great, that's correct. However, let me throw a scenario at you. The card you want is $90 in a PSA 10, but the raw copy is $40 to $50. All right, so you buy the raw copy, you spend the $15 to grade it, a little more for shipping and all that, you get it back, it's a $9. So now you're in the card $40 to $50 plus $15, $16, $17. You might be in the card, $55, $60, $65. Okay? Now you gotta sell that because you don't want the 9, right? You want the 10. Now you gotta sell it, eat whatever fee, shipping you pay, buy another card. Even if you sell it locally and pay no shipping and fees, right? Buy another card, right? Grade that. You spent the grading fee, shipping, all that. You get the 10. You basically paid exactly what you would have paid just buying the 10. But you went through all kinds of effort, all kinds of work, took all kind of time, took risk, had to sell the one you didn't get. And so it's almost making less and less sense. Same thing with the Moonbryon, right? It almost makes sense to buy the 10 if you want the card because the raw single is, if you get 1.9 after, grading fees and selling costs and you need to buy another one, grade that one, there's very little upside to trying to do it yourself unless you're just that good at pre-grading and you're that perfect that you always get 10s. It can make sense these days to just buy the 10. There is still value to graded cards, right? It's authenticated. It's an authentic card. Now, I know, we're going to quote Rattle videos or other videos of people finding, mess ups grading companies had. Look, no one's perfect. No human's perfect. There's always human error. But you have to remember, these companies are grading millions of cards, a month? A year? Whatever it may be. What was PSA doing? Like 1 million a month or something crazy? But they're grading millions and millions of cards, okay? With those millions and millions of cards, people have found like one here and there. So the percentage is so low that actually happens, and usually it's on signature cards or more niche cards. So that is not a real concern on the broad spectrum. And so that's the first thing. You get an authenticated card, it's real, all that. It is encased in plastic, so it is protected. I know you could say, well, Alex, I can protect it myself. I can put it in a top loader and this and that. And that's fine. Yeah, you can protect it yourself, but it does, take it away from any water damage, any of the other damages it could have. And then last thing is it puts an actual number on it, puts a value on it. Right? Whereas, if anyone's sold cars, it's a lot harder to sell raw near mint singles because everyone's always got an opinion, right? They're like, oh, well, it's this, it's that, it's got this here, it's off center. I don't think it's worth that. This, you think it's a 9, I think it's probably an 8. And there's a lot of negotiating and the raw mint single market's all over the place. Whereas with 9s and 10s, the market's pretty, it's usually pretty stable. You will have the real hardcore collectors who are always real worried about it, and even they'll zoom into pictures on the 9s and 10s, and they want a strong 9, not a weak 9. They want a strong 10, not a weak 10. But to be honest with you, those people are very few and far between. You may be in some of these YouTube channels or collector communities where it seems like a lot of people are like that. Guys, the broad community, the broad customer base out there, they're not worried about the strong 9, weak 9, strong 10, weak 10 stuff. They're just buying the card they want in the grade they want, right? It's just the way it is. And so that's another benefit to the grading. Now, here's the other thing. People worried about the values of this stuff in the future. Well, Alex, because there's no margin anymore, because maybe it's easier to grade them, or maybe there's not as many, whatever it may be, does that mean the value of these cards won't go up? No, not at all. We're seeing the Moonbryon rise right now. It's got 10,000 plus pop report, and the value of the singles is rising with it. And I think the same thing is going to be for all these graded cards. It's just because the margin isn't there for the grading play, for the flipper, for the part-time business, full-time business, just because that's disappearing and the free tendies are gone, it doesn't mean these cards won't rise in value in the future. It's the same thing you see with booster boxes, right? As booster boxes become more scarce and less widely available, they start to rise in price. Well, I know what you're thinking is, well, Alex, there's always more singles because as those packs get opened, there's more singles in the market. As more and more come in the market, the more and more get graded, and the population of all this goes up. I agree. I agree with you, right? What you need to think about, though, the reason a lot of these markets move is scarcity, right? It's not rarity. And so when you look at like the Moonbryon, there's like 50 on the market in a PSA 10. Well, there's 10,000 graded. Right? When you look at a lot of these cards, right, where there's thousands, hundreds graded, there's like 20, 50, 100 on the market of a lot of these cards. Meaning just because there's a lot in existence, it doesn't mean a lot of them are on the market. And a lot of them on the market are just set at like ridiculous price points. There's only like a very select few on the market that are actually affordable at the current market price that are actually being traded, bought and sold. And so because of that, that helps rise the price of a lot of the stuff over time. Like contrary to what a lot of people might think, there's a lot of true collectors or even investors out there who do hold this stuff and don't continuously flip it. Now, when things are brand new sets, right, you're going to see tons of the supply on the market because a lot of the flippers and businesses are trying to blow out their inventory, continuously flip, make that margin and move on. But as sets age, just like booster boxes age, a lot more of those copies disappear from the market and they stop getting replenished. Even if more are getting graded, less and less are finding their way to the market and more usually are getting bought than actually sold. And so because of that, it does have a scarcity factor to it. And when those get scarce, you know what else gets scarce? The raw near mint singles, because people start buying those up when you try to grade for themselves. Maybe the margins are better now. And so then the raw near mint singles start to go up because of low supply. And we're seeing this all over XY, Sun and Moon, even Sword and Shield now, where that sort of trend is happening. And so, no, I don't think the margins being less on PSA 10s means that the raw near mint singles or the 9s and 10s can't rise in price over time. I think they all kind of rise as the scarcity rises. And so if you are, running a business, side business, you are still trying to make margin doing this, I think you might need to just up the volume. I think it's still possible, right? I mean, I'm still doing it. I'm still making money on the things I grade. But you want to be selective. Make sure there is money to be made in there. Make sure the 9 isn't going to crush you. Make sure you're doing a better job pre-grading, and just make sure you're upping the volume, right? If you used to, grade, 20, 30, 40, 50 cards, maybe now you need to do 40, 60, 80, 100 cards, and or maybe even more, and move more through the system because the margins are smaller, but if you do more, you can still make the same amount of money. And then for any of the collectors, investors out there, obviously every card is a card-by-card basis, case-by-case basis, but if you find some that the PSA 10 just doesn't seem that much of a multiple compared to buying the raw or the 9, I mean, it might make just more sense to just buy it if that's what you want in your collection, or if that's what you want to invest in, than trying to grade yourself and capture that small amount of margin just so you can be up a little bit on your investment right away instead of buying at market and being even and hoping it rises over time. I understand. It is, it can be smart to do that. And if you're a really good grader, pre-grader, it can still make sense. What I'm saying though is, if you're trying this for the first time, or you're just starting grading, or you haven't had a lot of success, or, it might not always be the play if the margins aren't there, because one mistake, you messed up all your margins, and now you're out a bunch of time, a bunch of energy, having to go buy another card, you're having to, do all this stuff now when you're really creating more work for yourself. Now, on the flip side of that, it might make sense for those harder to grade cards. Like if you can find some real near mint copies, maybe some great pictures on eBay, maybe you're live at a card show, live at a Collecticon, and you find some great graded cards, and it's like $50, but it sells for like 200 plus as a PSA 10. Those are the cards you still want to do it with, all right? I mean, especially when you can find them mint, because it's hard to find them, obviously. Again, like the cards that are like $50 that sell for like 90 and a 10, you can if you want to. Not a ton of sense in doing it though. So that's my thoughts on the whole grading singles, margins market right now. It just that's where we're at in the hobby. I think that the demand is not falling off. I think the supply, with all the new bigger companies and bigger people grading large amounts now, has just met up with demand, and we have an equilibrium of supply and demand right now, and so the prices are remaining stable for people. So that's where I think we're at. As I said before, Patreon is up if you want to support the channel. Pack break this week is going to be on Friday on this channel because we're doing Whatnot on Thursday. Both of those will be at 7 p.m. Central Time. New Cabal merch is up if you want to check that out. And I think I covered everything. That's all I got, guys. Thanks for watching. Be back in a new video soon. I'm out.